Oh, and there's the pigeon tower. There it is. A simple, round, lovely pigeon tower. Ooh, hold on. I'm going to see what's inside it. If it's still got its original pigeonholes, let's say, that'll be nice to see. And in we go. Okay, the floor's been redone.
Some real pigeons.
They're not real. I thought they were at first, but I think these are fake pigeons because they're not budging. Isn't this well done? So these little cubby holes are called boulins. 3 or 4 rooks here. Okay. They've been behaving cuckoo-like. Hello, rookie. But so they laid their eggs here and they had their offspring. And it's the very young pigeons that the aristocracy liked to eat the meat of. It was called, I think, squab, and it was deliciously tender. So the poor things basically didn't even have time to get to an adult age.
Look, one is broken.
Mm-hmm. So please do not go up on the on the bars of the ladder. Of course not. But see, this is how people collected the contents of these little cubby holes. And this was a system that pivoted along the central pole here. See, that's the ceiling, very nice. And they could push it around, you know, around the whole pigeon tower and collect. They also used the excrement of the pigeons to spread on their fields. It was very, very good stuff, apparently. When I came into here, seriously, I thought these were real pigeons. From a distance, the resemblance is uncanny. Hello, pig. Yes, this video focuses on pigeon towers, and the first ones were built several hundred years ago. There are all sorts of differences in shape, style, and size depending on the importance and ambitions of the man who possessed them. It depended also on how much land he possessed. The more land, the bigger the pigeon tower. Most of them date back to the time where the feudal system was still very much in place, and ours is no exception. So that means it's the aristocracy and nobility who were allowed to possess one. Why did the nobility have pigeon towers? Well, pigeons produced meat of the very young birds, this squab I mentioned before, and their excrement was very precious too. It was spread on fields, greatly improving especially very poor soil quality. This excrement was called either fiente or colombine, so that it translates in English to columbine. Yes, it's a very pretty word. That means bird shit, basically, pigeon shit. And the peasants were quite resentful of this pigeon owning privilege, because they're the ones who worked the land and planted up fields, and when the pigeons were left out to feed, they helped themselves to seed that had already been planted, thus ruining at least part of the crop. So they weren't mad about this whole pigeon business. Pigeon towers were present in regions where land was cultivated, therefore especially wheat. So quite a number of them in Normandy. There were 3 pigeon towers just in Moraville, at least, and in large parts of the south of France as well. A few dotted around in Brittany. This is the first privilege to be abolished by the revolutionaries in 1789 in France. Now, at that point, there were about 42,000 pigeon towers, and a lot of them were round, some were square, some hexagonal, some had 8 sides, and ours has 16. So that, and the intricate details of its construction and noble materials, shows quite evidently that the owner of this manor was drawing attention to his importance in Moraville, and with good reason. As I said, this was a feudal system working at the time. There were 14 fiefs in Moraville, not thieves, fiefs. And this manor represented the most important one out of the 14. There was a lot of cultivated land attached to it, back in those days, which is obvious by the number of pigeons that the Dovecote could accommodate. Up to 3,000, so we were told. There's nothing left inside it, but the outside still looks very nice.
Right, I see they've arrived to come and pick their lime flowers, so I'm going to go down the drive and if I can find them and see how they're getting on. I don't know where they are. They're not there. Perhaps they've gone to have coffee somewhere. Oh no, there they are. There's somebody with a ladder. Voilà, les gens sont là pour cueillir les fleurs de tilleul, mais moi je ne connais rien là-dedans. Voilà.
Alors du coup on cueille les fleurs du tilleul, donc ça s'appelle une bractée, avec cette petite ailette particulière sur l'inflorescence. Et donc on la cueille à un stade particulier, avec une seule fleur ouverte et toutes les autres en bouton, pour la conservation et les propriétés des plantes, enfin de la fleur. Après on ira sur la ferme, les mettre à sécher dans un séchoir qui est muni d'un déshumidificateur et d'un ventilateur pour que ça sèche rapidement. En 48 heures ça sera sec.
Vous séchez le tout avec les feuilles et tout?
Oui, on sèche tout, oui. On étale ça sur un grand tiroir ajouré en dessous pour que l'air passe et l'humidité s'échappe. Et à la maison, vous pouvez tout à fait sécher dans des cagettes en bois bien étalées sur un linge. Et grâce au vent et à la chaleur qu'il y a à cette période de l'année, ça sèche assez vite.
D'accord. Okay. Voilà. Et vous comptez cueillir combien?
Là, on s'est donné 1h30 de récolte. Donc on va voir ce qu'on peut cueillir en 1h30. Après, on en fera des tisanes. Du coup, une fois que c'est sec, ça sera mis en sachet pour faire des sachets simples, donc juste avec des fleurs de tilleul. Ou alors en mélange une tisane composée pour le soir, par exemple, pour détendre.
D'accord, ok. Voilà, on sait bien, parce qu'il en reste plein.
Oui, il y en a beaucoup, ouais. Ils sont très beaux. Ils doivent être très vieux.
Oui. Nos arbres, ils ont tous les âges. Les gens ils viennent ici, ils disent « Oh, ils sont centenaires », mais les dimensions, il y en a pour 2 personnes n'arrivent pas en cercle avec les bras, oui. Et d'autres, on peut pratiquement mettre les 2 bras autour de... Donc, ils ont tous les âges.
Ok.
Mais les abeilles ne sont pas difficiles.
Ah non, on les entend beaucoup.
On les entend, oui.
Ouais, on les entend, oui. Avec les oiseaux aussi.
Oui, les oiseaux aussi. Voilà. Oh, bonne continuation.
Merci.
Did you know that there were still a small number of pigeon towers in Paris, because there are 80,000 pigeons in Paris, I think, doing their business all over nice statues and posh buildings, and so they try and contain the number a bit, or at least where they fly, where they dwell, let's say, by encouraging them to stay in their little homes, i.e. these pigeon towers. I think there were maybe 8 or 10 of them dotted around Paris, and I will show you. I got so engrossed in this subject of pigeon towers and pigeons, their inhabitants, that I browsed the internet and came up with this really amusing little book by Rosemary Moscow called A Pocket Guide to Pigeon Watching, Getting to Know the World's Most Misunderstood Bird. Come on, who likes pigeons, huh? Well, you will once you've read this book, if you read it. It's really very funny. Even the little introduction to my dad, who grew up in a Manhattan tenement and only knew 3 kinds of birds: the grey ones, the little brown ones, and seagulls. It tells you all about these funny, the way they've been selected, the fantail with its huge great chest sticking out, the English pouter with its enormously long legs. It tells you all about the pigeons that received a medal for their work during the First World War, transporting important messages. It tells you what all the noises and movements of the pigeon mean, the head bobbing, the loud clapping of the wings. It all has a meaning, of course, but you learn about all this in here. It's a really fascinating book. It also tells you how all these pigeons you see in railway stations with bits of their foot missing, it tells you exactly what's happened to them, which is nice to know. And really, once you've finished reading this book, you love them. And now, for any of you who are interested, and I'm warning you, this has nothing at all to do with pigeon towels or chateau. I'm just going to add a few little videos of this amazing aviation festival I went to a few weekends ago, just in case you're interested. It was a very, very interesting weekend, and some very impressive pilots there, doing the most crazy stuff, and in weather conditions that were less than perfect. So enjoy, or cut it off now. Other than that, see you next time. La Ferté-Alais, which is always at the beginning of June, is the biggest old aeroplane festival in the whole of France. And I hadn't realized it was so enormous.
Pour aller résoudre des paradoxes temporels.
Et de matériel par jour. La classe avec prix de l'actif.
Il nous a quittés l'année dernière, il travaillait chez Corsair, il avait même une direction, il occupait même la direction technique de cette belle compagnie. Et le week-end, il l'a passé ici avec nous.
This festival is very nice because even these big planes fly at a very low altitude, so we can get a good look at them.
Ok, 3 unité, on y va. Box.
Putschiste, le général Franco, qui prend le pouvoir par la force, qui cherche à s'imposer et qui reçoit un soutien extrêmement fort.
Alors clairement, je me demande ce que fait James Bond qui n'a pas encore volé à bord d'un...
Mesdames et messieurs, devant vous,